rabbis of yesteryear. Now, once again, we're in Bulgaria territory. I want to concentrate on a few of the highlights of famous chief rabbi's life. He would actually spend two shortish periods as a chief rabbi of Bulgaria. His name was Rabbi Moshe Tadjer, a very, very famous rabbi. I believe he was born in the year 1832. He passed away in the year 1913. He would have been about 81 years of age. He was a rabbi. He was from Sofia. It was part of the Ottoman Empire of its time. He'd be the chief rabbi, I think, on two occasions, if I'm not mistaken, for the Jewish community in Bulgaria towards the latter parts of the 19th century. Let's explore a few of the highlights of the famous rabbi's life. Now, he was born in Sofia and would be, I believe, at a later stage, while he was born in the 1832, I believe it happened to have been, and he would be ordained eventually as a rabbi over there. He would be. I'm not too sure on, possibly even as early as 1850, but I'll have to double check that. Now, he would go on after, he would do various different, he would get married to a daughter of a wealthy noble family from the area itself. Now, I think the community itself was from an area called Kyustendil, I believe. It was the capital of the province of Bulgaria, and I think located 90 kilometers southwest of the capital of Sofia, respectively. That's where, let's just say, that was the place where he was stationed, and he would acquire a Bulgarian national revival, I think it was called. It was he was part of that and was close and influenced with a general education over there, in addition to his rabbinic education. So he was a worldly person with a lot of worldly knowledge, but at the same time, he had a rabbinical education also and was ordained to the rabbinate, respectively, at that stage in time. He was, let's say, in connection with various different rabbis all throughout the various different vicinities, I think, among the Kihila. He would, there was various rabbis all throughout, I think, Bulgaria at that stage in time, and will be in correspondence. I think there was robust debate, if I'm not mistaken, at that stage in time. But there was, I think there was different factions in the community, and so on and so forth. I think there was issues possibly with the Ottoman authorities at that point in time, and I think he was also a director of a movement. It is respected. It's reported over. He would really, I think there was obviously the Sultan of the Ottoman Empire in 1864. He would be, I think, more, I'll say it in Hebrew over here, Al-Kol Aidut Va'al Sultanat, ultimately it, but in 1864, Moneh Alidei Midhat Pasha, through the, I think his name was Ahmad Shafik Miuchadat Pasha, Moshe, who was a ruler, let's just say, at that point in time. He would be appointed, I think, as with regards to various different prominent positions, I think, in Bulgaria in of itself. He was appointed, I think, in a court, part of the civil, let's just say, the bank in of itself, and was later on appointed a member of the regional commercial for the residents of the city. I think there was a school over there. He would establish a modern, let's say, a more modern school for the Kyustendil community, respectively, and it's just, and he would, so it would be a modern school. I think around the year 1866, if I'm not mistaken, he would actually set this place up. So he would definitely. I think this community itself was quite prominent. Also, there's not much related over in the English language about this community, but I think it would number around 2,700 in a peak. In its time, I think maybe during the 1920s itself, that was after his period, but he was around there at the later part, let's just say, of the Ottoman Empire time period, respectively. So he would have various prominent roles, especially during the latter parts of the 1860s, especially. I think the Central Synagogue was built in the city in 1863, so that would have been around his time period, respectively, over there. So that's very, very interesting also, just to point out. Okay, so he'd establish the school over there, and he would be, let's say, supported, let's just say, various different and connections, maintain contacts with various different people, part of the Bulgarian Ottoman, positioners, let's just say, in of itself. I think the Bulgarian independence would actually fight at that stage in time, and he was in contact, I think, with the commander of Bulgaria. I think there was the Bulgarian-Russian War. I think that actually took the Russo-Ottoman War that took place between 1877 to 1888. So he was, I don't know about behind the scenes, but he was very much in connection with people at that point in time, knowing maybe different informations at that stage in time. Bulgaria will achieve its independence, and he would serve as a member of the Kayistendil City Council. So he was seen from the city itself, not just from a Jewish point of view, but from a non-Jewish point of view, with the other people living in the community. He was very, let's say, well-established, highly thought of seemingly, and known as a very worldly and important person. And I think there would be, and I think at one stage in time it's reported over, I'll say it, I think in 1891, Poter Harav Harashi Liudi Bulgaria, Simon de Konvitz, I think Rabbi Simon de Konvitz, I think we say it, he would actually lead the chief rabbinate of Bulgaria at that stage in time, 1910. So it's quite interesting. I think I'd assume he was an Ashkenazic rabbi. We would have to point out he, I think, passed away himself, I'm not sure, in the year 1910. He was born actually in the year 1834. He was definitely part of the rabbinical seminary of Breslau, which we've spoken about on various occasions before over there. And he would, I think, lead the chief rabbinate at that stage in time, those positions. And I'm not so sure if it was to do with the Bulgarian city council or not, but the whole science behind that. But this would, I think, because of this that actually occurred at that stage in time, I think Rav Tadjer would fill in his place. I don't know, I think this was not to be a long-term position for him to be in the chief rabbinate, but it would be significant enough. I think he would become the chief rabbi, I believe, for, at that stage in time, maybe for a couple of years as an interim role. It is reported over, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah, it could be. I think he would become, so Rav Shimon Dankovitz would leave in 1891, so for a 2-year period, he would become the chief rabbi, I think. I think he was also of Sofia, so that's interesting, 1891 to 1893, so that would span about 3 years, respectively. He would be the chief rabbi. They're gaining huge experience, obviously, very prominent position at that point in time, and I think it was accepted by the authorities. He, I think at that point in time, there was a Dimitar Grekov, who was a Bulgarian politician that would serve several ministers at that point in time as Prime Minister of the Principality of Bulgaria, and he was in contact with him, and also the Bulgarian Minister of Religions. I think in 1893, eventually, someone of the name Rabbi Moritz Grunewald will become the new chief rabbi at that point in time. He would be in 1893, I think he would actually come in, if I'm not mistaken, an official point of view. Rav Grunewald, I think, he passed away very young. He was only about 42 years of age when he passed away. I believe he actually, I think he was from Austria, if I'm not mistaken. And once again, he also did study in the rabbinical seminary in Breslau. So we've spoken about, I think he maybe suffered from some anti-Semitism, and he was connected, I think, to the United Kingdom also. I think he would be a rabbi also in London, if I'm not mistaken. So he would, this rabbi would take the place till 1895, that would be. So after 1895, I think the chief rabbi would be Rabbi Presidio Bakish, who would become an interim chief rabbi. And in 1898 to 1900, right at the start of the 20th century, Rabbi Moshe Tadjer once again will become the interim chief rabbi over there, once again getting the premiership position inside that place. Remember, we spoke about Rabbi Yakir Bakish. He was a chief rabbi for a few years, and he was a rabbi we actually spoke about just quite recently inside this series. He was a famous rabbi also in his time. Just to say a word with regards to him, I think he was a head of Jewish court, also chairman of rabbinical court. He was a Zionist. He was part of the first Zionist Congress, and would have various different importances respectively, and we spoke about him on various occasions at the time. He was actually passed away also in the year 1910. He was 82 years of age. And remember, Zionism was flourishing, I think, in Bulgaria at that point in time. There was very many different, Zionism was at the core, let's just say, of Bulgaria. So it's interesting. So as Rabbi Yakir Bakish would leave, he would be again for a few years as the chief rabbi, and eventually Rabbi Marcus Ornfreis would actually take his place. He happens to have been a writer, a translator, a publicist, and once again a strong Zionist activist, Rabbi Mordechai Ornfreis. And I think he actually, he passed away himself, I think, in the year 1951. So he was quite young, actually, when he was taking over the position at that stage in time. And I believe we did brush on him also. So he had 2 terms as a chief rabbi, Rav Moshe did. And it's interesting. We could just add on another thing. So I think in 1900 he would actually return to Castillo over there. He passed away in 1913. He was 81 years of age. I think his grandson was Rabbi Abram. Not Rabbi. His name was Abram Tadjer. Also, he was also a famous person in his time. And just to say something about him, also his grandson passed away in the year 1958. He was a Jewish traveler. I think he would be based in Israel. He was also a Zionist. He was part of the International Congress representing Bulgaria in his time period. I think also he would have prominent position in Macedonia. And obviously he was he was a grandson of a chief rabbi at that point in time, which is a very prominent family connection his grandson had at that point in time. I think he was part of different wars, and much is chronicled about him within regards to the Second World War, which I recommend everyone to do, and to speak about that more. He would have great grandchildren, someone named Ben Maccabi and Bet Karl Herbst, I believe. He himself also happened to be a journalist, a publicist, and one of the founders of the Zionistic movement. His grandson, Rav Tadjer, would get married to Mrs. Rosa, who was a sister of someone called Malvina Hirsch, the wife of, so that's also interesting to point out. So much of his family, just like he was a staunch Zionist and really advocated for Zionism, especially on a rabbinic level, let's just say, they would also become working in the Zionistic field and promoting Eretz Yisrael, respectively. So he was, he passed away in 1813, in the year 1913, and very, very much more can be said about him. 2 times he was the chief rabbi of Bulgaria. Very interesting enough. Now it's actually interesting that after him was Rabbi Mordechai Einfreis. He would last 14 years as chief rabbi. That would be followed by Rabbi Cheskia Shabtai Davidov, would be for a few years also, and then that would 1920 to 1925 would be Rabbi David Pipano, and then the last chief rabbi was Rabbi Dr. Asher Hanan. There was more chief rabbis since, I believe. We actually spoke about most of these rabbis inside this series so far, which I would very much recommend everyone to watch those videos that we recorded. Now, friends, we're a community here. We're learning about famous rabbis of yesteryear. If you descend from any famous rabbis that we're speaking about here in this series, please send me an email. I would love to hear more information on the Chachamim. If you feel anyone's interested in watching these videos, please share these videos also to other people. Also, we are nearing at the moment a staggering 7,000 subscribers, which is a phenomenal achievement. So we couldn't have done this without all you fantastic people out there. So please, and on this channel, we're not just recording videos on famous rabbis. We have a great Jewish personality every single day we try and have to give us some inspiration over for Am Yisrael, or a great rabbi of modern day that will actually give some chizuk to Am Yisrael and strengthen in Torah, one inspirational clip within regards to itself. And also on the series, we do a daily Talmud tidbit, also, which is very important. If you look at the series that we're doing now, we do videos for the Parashat HaShavua, respectively, for the Hebrew month, and we also brush onto current events, and we do tours all over different parts of Israel. So we're very, very well encompassed here in this series. So please, everyone would appreciate if you could subscribe, and wishing you a Shabbat Shalom. We're going into Parashat Ekev this Shabbat. It's a 3rd parasha in the book of Dvarim over here. So it's actually one of the longest parashiot, I think, in Sefer Dvarim, respectively, also in the whole Torah. So on that note, recording this from the city of Bet Shemesh, wishing you all a Shabbat Shalom Mavarach. Take care, and thank you everyone for spending the time and watching. Appreciate it to everyone. Thanks and appreciate.